Welcome to this week's Cyber Chronicles. We scrub the internet so you don't have to. Ending August 11th, we have a lot of really interesting articles to talk about this week. But before we get there, I want to do a couple shout outs. Number one, big week in the Cyber Chronicle. We were ranked number 9 as far as the FeedSpot's most popular Cyber Chronicle or cybersecurity podcast. So shout out to them. Also, we got a shout out from Mr. Krebs himself. Really appreciate that. We're trying to build a following, and obviously he is one of the more followed people in security, and we appreciate so much the kind words that he gave us. So with that, let's get started with the show. We have 5 articles that you're not going to want to miss that were most shared around the internet. Let's get started. Okay, the 5th most popular article shared on the internet last week was by the Washington Post. It's a political article we typically try to stay away from, but it was the 5th most shared article. The Cybersecurity 202 Trump team isn't doing enough to determine cybersecurity attacks from Russia, according to our panel of experts. The Washington Post did a survey of 100 cybersecurity quote-unquote leaders. You can see the list of who they asked, but some were granted anonymity for exchange for their participation. 94% overwhelmingly said that the government's not doing enough in the cybersecurity area. And, you know, I have to agree. I mean, we do not have, it does not appear that we have an outlined, comprehensive, concrete plan to deter when we have these attacks. These attacks are occurring a lot. We don't have an offensive plan. The public doesn't seem to be aware that this is happening. And all of the onus is put on the private sector to, try to stop these threats from government agencies that are trying to come after them. So this is an interesting article. I would read it. I think it's something that more and more people need to share. They need to talk about. We're in a cyber war that no one seems to want to recognize. And Russia is one of the countries leading the attack. And by not doing anything or having a concrete plan, it doesn't stop the constant, never-ending infiltration of our intellectual property and our country's assets. So, good article. Read the article. Trump team not doing enough to deter the Russian attacks. I wouldn't say Trump team. I'd say it's the government. Obama had the same shit. We haven't done anything for ever to deter this stuff. We just kind of push it under the rug when a known government comes in and takes our information. It's appalling, and we don't seem to talk about it on the news, and not enough people are aware unless you're in cybersecurity. So good article, pick it up, and we're going to move on to the number 2 article most shared on the interweb. Okay, so this is going to be a real short one we're going to talk about. It's actually quite interesting. It's a forum. A forum page got linked and got shared more than articles being written by Wall Street Journal, The Post, Wired Magazine, and all of your top cybersecurity experts. A forum post. And this gentleman on this forum post shows that a new attack on WPA2 using PMKID can take passwords away. So he shows exactly how to do it, and it's gotten shared numerous times. It's essentially the wireless security element that a lot of people have on their wireless routers in their homes, or in a lot of cases in their businesses. And so it shows exactly how to infiltrate and pre-shared passwords step by step. And there are here 8 pages of people that are going through this and talking about how they're successfully implementing this strategy. We're not going to share the link. You're going to have to find it yourself. But it was the most shared article on the web. Kind of scary, showing an infiltration, and then goes viral and starts being shared all across the internet. That was our 4th most popular article shared on the interweb for August 11th. Okay, we're at number 3. This is an interesting one. I actually got a kick out of this one, how the guy wrote it. It's from a website called thenextweb.com. but it showed up across the interweb as most shared. Snapchat doesn't make messages disappear after a period of time. It also does the same to GitHub repositories, especially when it contains the company's proprietary source code. So what happened is GitHub, someone uploaded, it looked like the source code for Snapchat. They took it down right away. Obviously, as soon as you put up source code, they're going to take it down. They're not sure if it was the complete source code. They're not sure how many people actually were able to download it in a period of time that it was on GitHub. It could have just been a minor component of the service separate from the company, but somebody did leak some of the Snapchat code. So nothing to say here other than somebody may have gotten part of the code and part of the source code. Obviously, if you have the source code, you can see where the holes are in your software and know where to manipulate and how to hack in. So that was our third most shared article of the week. Sorry, I had to look at it again. I'm getting old, okay? We're going to go on to number 2. Okay, we're moving on to number 2. This article, quite frankly, pisses me off, and it's been out there for... The topic's been out there for a long time about Axios, A-X-I-O-S. I don't know how to say that. Why would you start with a company name that you can barely pronounce? But the article was excellent. Inside Russia's invasion of the U.S. electric grid, shared second most across the internet. Let me just rephrase some of the things I have here. What's going on? Over the last year, Russian hackers have infiltrated power stations and other points of the U.S. grid and are now able to handle hundreds of power grids, empowering them to create a chaos of blackouts. I mean, this is appalling. U.S. government officials are worried about the U.S. breaches. On July 23rd, the Department of Homeland Security went public, describing the infiltration by the Kremlin-based actors called Dragonfly or Energetic Bear, and it brings alarm further briefings around the war, around the country. In a way, this author says it resembles the Cold War, and I like that analogy. It says the U.S. and Moscow are eyeball to eyeball, now able to take down each other's large parts of their infrastructure. But unlike the Cold War, we don't have any treaty boundaries. We have not really talked about this cybersecurity thing. If they took down our power grid for a period of time, that obviously would have massive impacts on our economy if they were able to take down our power for a long period of time. So again, an article that number 2, if you're in security, you're probably aware of it. It should be talking more about the mainstream media. This is serious shit, and we need to start taking it seriously. The Russians have the ability to shut down our U.S. electric grid, according to U.S. officials in this article. Read it. It was the number 2 article. And now we're going to move on to our sponsor and their commercial, which you're probably sick of hearing, but they help us pay for this thing. So please listen and give them a call.
This episode of the Cyber Chronicle is brought to you by Focus Point Technologies, a Minnesota-based, woman-owned cybersecurity solutions provider. Founded on the belief that the market is vastly underserved, we are putting the value back in VAR. Please call us at 651-330-5521 or find us on the World Wide Web at www.focuspointtechnologies.com.
Okay, we are up to our number 1, uno. That's about as much Spanish as I know. The Verge wrote an article, 8-year-olds hacking state election websites. There was a DEF CON conference. If you're not familiar, DEF CON, that's one of those cybersecurity conferences. They had a hackathon, and it was a kind of an interesting thing. Voting systems in the U.S. are so woefully hackable that even an 8-year-old could do it. So begins the competition last week. The competition was co-sponsored by the DNC, and the prize included children from 8 to 16 years old. They were able to penetrate voting machines across numerous states. It was very interesting for the officials but the state election sites are so deeply flawed, no adult hacker would be interested in hacking them. The hackers would laugh us off the stage if they asked us to do that. So it's so unsophisticated. It's so easy to do. They have 8-year-olds able to do it at a conference called DEF CON. Makes you feel really good about the November elections coming up. I'm sure no one's going to do any shenanigans. But I guess my 8-year-old, actually I don't even have an 8-year-old, they're all older than that now. But if you have an 8-year-old, you could have them vote. So that was our number one article of the week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Cyber Chronicles. As always, we really appreciate the subscribers. We're growing like crazy, and hope to see you next week, and hope you have a terrific week yourself. Take care.